The film kicks off in a swim relay where Haley, the main character, is a contestant. Unfortunately, she fails to beat the time pass mark set for her to advance in the competition. In her disappointment, she remembers back to when she was a child when her father, Dave, was her coach. Reminiscing in his words, she accepts the outcome and heads out to the dressing room to get changed. While there, she receives a call from her sister, Beth. She informs Haley about the impending Category 5 hurricane that is about to strike Florida. Beth expresses concern since she hasn't heard from their father, and she thinks he is still around the area. She asks Haley to go and check on Dave, and she agrees after a short argument. It so happens that her parents are separated and she blames herself for the whole situation. On her way to her father's condo, she runs into Wayne, a local town policeman who happens to be the ex-boyfriend to Beth. Wayne is trying to control traffic as people try to heed to the evacuation orders given due to the incoming storm. Haley begs Wayne to let her through, but Wayne refuses. He asks her to turn her vehicle around and heed to the evacuation orders. Seeing that convincing Wayne is a lost case, she turns her vehicle around and pretends to do as told. But then suddenly, she goes off-road and speeds her vehicle past the traffic jam and into the town. At this point, the storm has already started, and the streets have already started filling with water. She gets to her father's condo and gets in to look for him, but unfortunately, he is not there. Instead, she finds his dog, Sugar. She tries calling his cell, but it goes unanswered. She then calls her sister and explains everything to her. Beth tells her that if their father is not there, then he probably skipped town after the storm warnings. Haley doesn't get convinced because she knows that her father would never leave Sugar behind. So she decides to go and look for him at their old house against her sister's wishes. She takes Sugar and together, they drive to their old house. When she gets there, she finds no sign of him. She calls his phone again and she hears it ringing in the kitchen. With the help of Sugar, she locates him and finds him in the basement. She goes down to the basement and leaves Sugar up top. There, she finds her father unconscious with a bitten shoulder and a broken leg. She tries to wake him up, but he doesn't respond. So she finds a way to drag him across the basement, and hopefully out of the house. But before she gets to the stairs, she hears a roar behind her. When she turns around, she locks gaze with an alligator. Screaming in terror, she quickly turns around and starts pulling her father away from the deadly gator. On the other hand, the gator follows them, hoping to get a bite. Luckily, Haley manages to pull her father faster, and they manage to make their way behind a bunch of pipes that act as barricades between them and the gator. Right there and then, Dave, Haley's father, regains consciousness. He explains to Haley that the gator used the draining trench to get into the basement. He later on demands that she leave him and save herself, but Haley refuses. In the midst of their conversation, Haley sees her phone lying beyond the pipes a few steps away from them. Dave suggests that she use another route to get to the phone so as to avoid the gator. Doing so, Haley gets to the phone and decides to call for help. Suddenly another gator comes from nowhere. Haley tries to get away and reach for her father's hand, but the gator grabs her by her foot and pulls her back. She tries to fight it, but its jaws seems too strong for her. She grabs a screwdriver from the floor and manages to blind the gator's eye. That way she gains a chance to hide away from it. She then tends to her wounds, and so does her father. After she finds a way to get her father, they start thinking of a way to escape the basement without being eaten by the gators. Gazing through the spaces on the basement walls, they see looters across the street stealing cash from a store. They try to call out to them, but the storm is too loud for them to be heard. Unfortunately, when one of the looters, Stan, finally notices activity in their direction, a batch of alligators attack him and his friends and kills them all. Thinking that all hope is lost, Wayne, the local policeman, comes over to check up on Haley, because he didn't hear from her after she came to look for Dave. He goes into the house as his partner remains outside with the speedboat. The two get brutally attacked by alligators simultaneously. Wayne gets attacked when he discovers that Haley and her father are stuck in the basement with two alligators, and his partner gets attacked and killed just as the looters were. At this point, the water in the basement is almost over their heads, and the storm is increasingly getting bigger. Haley figures that the only way out of the basement is through the storm drain, which is also the way that the gator are using to get into the basement. She makes her way to the drain and manages to kill one of gators with Wayne's gun. Luckily, she makes it through the drain and out of the basement. She goes back into the house and helps her father out of the basement too, which is now filled with water. They both grab Sugar and attempt to get to the looter's boat. Carefully, they succeed getting to the boat. Then suddenly, the water reservoir breaks and the resulting flood pushes them and the boat back into the house. Amongst all the bad luck, Haley manages to see a radio that she could use to call for help, but it becomes terrifyingly difficult to get to it. Especially in a house full of water infested with flesh-devouring gators. Still, the question remains, As they continue to wrestle with the basque of alligators, will Haley get to the radio on time? Will she call for help and get out of there with Dave and Sugar alive? Fortunately, Haley gets to the radio and calls for help. As they try to find somewhere they can stay without the fear of alligators attacking them, Haley manages to lock one of them in the bathroom. Dave also gets his arm torn off by an alligator as he tries to protect Sugar. Luckily, they make their way to the rooftop where they wait until the helicopter comes to rescue them. If you would like to watch the full complete movie, subscribe to the channel, then click the link on the description box, and watch it for free on Apexflicks. Be sure to leave your comments down below too.